Hi, Aimee. How are you?
Hi Tash, I'm good. How are you?
I'm going good. To all our followers, I have Aimee from Antique Nutrition to talk to us today about pregnancy and baby nutrition. I haven't caught up with Aimee for a while, so reached out to her because she is an Australian nutritionist, dietitian, and a sports nutritionist as well. So you have a lot of knowledge that I think you can share with the mums that are following Mummas Wear. And I've prepared obviously a few questions for you so that you can, we can pick your brain a little bit.
Certainly.
So my first question, Aimee, is what are your top 3 nutrition tips for pregnant mums?
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So I guess firstly, I like to really point out that when it comes to any nutrition prescription, particularly pregnant mums or women that are wanting to fall pregnant, it's about understanding their unique journey and that everyone is so different, and so everyone's journey of pregnancy is going to be really unique, and it's about really pinpointing that. So my first tip is plan before you conceive if you can. I know that's not always the case for everyone, but the reason why I suggest that is because one of the 2 drivers of fertility is egg quality, and it's about improving and enhancing your egg quality, and that can take roughly 3 months. And so by prioritizing your nutrition, making sure that you're moving well, you've got low stress as best as you can, you're sitting at a healthy weight, and then also age can be a factor as well. By focusing on these key factors for those first 3 months, trying to in before conception, that can increase not only your chances to set you up for healthier conception, but also for healthy pregnancy as well. So you kind of really providing yourself with that head start essentially. So that's my number 1 tip. And in terms of, when it comes to prioritizing nutrition and some nutrition tips for fertility, some of those key nutrients, obviously there's folate, which is what we all know about, but, vitamin B12. So B12 you can get from your lean red meats, eggs, dairy. Another one would be your vitamin D, your zinc, and then also CoQ10. So I'm not sure if you've heard of CoQ10.
I haven't heard of that one before.
Yeah. So it's like an antioxidant.
Okay. Yeah.
And essentially it's good energy for your cells, and it's quite a great one when it comes to that cell quality, particularly for fertility. So you get that from your grains like quinoa, or fruits such as citrus or berries, and then also fatty fish like your salmon. So trying to include foods that incorporate that mix is a really good tip for fertility. So planning before you conceive, and then you're setting yourself up for that good head start.
That's great. I love it.
My second tip is essentially making sure that, I know that mums, when we fall pregnant, it's obviously there's so many stresses going on. There's so many hormone changes. We're making sure that we're fueling our body well. But I like to personally break it down into those 3 trimesters, because each trimester is going to provide their unique demands. So if you've followed that first tip, then you've already set yourself up well for a healthy pregnancy, and then it's about following and making sure that you're having those key nutrients throughout your pregnancy.
So don't just stop doing all that once you fall pregnant.
And focusing on quality rather than quantity. I know that women, they're always scared. They're like, am I eating enough, or am I eating too much, or should I eat for 2? There's that myth of, should I eat for 2? And really it is just a myth, and we really shouldn't be eating for 2. Our energy requirements, they only increase by a small amount each trimester.
Okay, so no excuses.
So I had so even when I was pregnant, I had so many people like, oh, you can relax now, Aimee, you can eat whatever you want. But it's really important that we are just prioritizing our nutrition, because you're nourishing your body, but also your baby's body as well, and that growth and development throughout the 3 trimesters. So, you know, focusing on really good food safety, really good overall health, and making sure that you're getting plenty of nutrients across those 3 trimesters, and managing symptoms as best as you can, but trying to focus on that quality. And even in that first trimester, if it's just about managing the symptoms, don't fret. Don't worry about, you know, put nutrition kind of to the side. And
if you're throwing it all up and you feel
exactly. So just manage what you can. You don't need to go out and try to get all these fancy foods if it's just going to make you feel sick. So it's just, really, you know, making sure that you're having that great nutrition and following those 3 principles.
No, that sounds really good. And it makes sense. It's common sense, but it's good to know which foods you should sort of eat instead of, you know, when you're making those choices.
That's right. And in that 3rd trimester, that's where I always prioritize good energy. So making sure that you're fueling your body well, because that's when the most of the bulb's growth and brain development occurs. And that's where, you know, weight should start to increase from trimester 2, trimester 3 in that slow progression, depending on what your weight's starting at the beginning of the pregnancy.
Okay. It's good to know. And then what foods do you recommend that breastfeeding mums eat to help increase milk supply? Because obviously breastfeeding is not easy, and sometimes a lot of mums have a bit of trouble with that. And is there anything that you can sort of recommend that can help?
Certainly. I mean, there's not a lot of evidence behind specific foods necessarily increasing or directly increasing milk supply. And I've been quite interested in this topic, particularly because I'm currently breastfeeding my 3-month-old. And I'm hoping that my supply continues as well. You know, main ones is going to be making sure that you're hydrating your body well, and that overall you are fueling enough for that physical and mental demands and hormone demand changes as well. But some specifics that some research papers have shown would be in foods like fennel. And fennel's been an interesting topic in puberty and menstruation, particularly just because of those potential estrogen properties. And so you could have that fresh, you could have it baked, you could just cook it into like a dish with some salmon, and that goes really nicely, or shaved into a salad with some citrus. But that's a really good one to add in. It's not one that many people really use or utilize, but it's a unique one, that's for sure.
Start buying fennel, guys.
Second one would be brewer's yeast. Interestingly, there's some research behind that one. That one's got great B vitamins. It's rich in protein, and you can actually add it into lots of cookies. So you could make some cookies. So you might see actually in some commercial cookies that they've got lots of really healthy nuts and seeds and brewer's yeast that they claim, and that's where they're pulling that from. It's because of a little bit of research behind that. But more cost effective to make it at home yourself. So you
don't need to go out and buy it. That's good.
That's right. So cookies, smoothies, you could add it into lots of products. The third one would be your oats. So oats is a good one, and it's more anecdotal evidence, to be honest, with oats, but I always put that one in there as a recommendation because it's a good everyday food that people could utilize. You could make bircher muesli, you could make porridge, you could make oat cookies, you could add it into smoothies. So that's a really good one. And it's got, you know, even though it's going to help with milk supply or potentially help with milk supply, it's also going to provide good fiber, good beta glucan. There's many benefits to the nutritional sides of oats. And then fenugreek is another one. So fenugreek you can get through seeds. So fenugreek seeds. Leaves. Yes. So they're just another one that you can add. So there's actually a Swiss a supplement that you can get, and it has fenugreek in it, and it actually promotes for milk supply. So that's why. And because it has an element called, I think it's galactagogues, and they can actually help to increase, it was that direct link towards increasing milk supply. So it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Good facts and backed up with, research that
Yeah,
So.
well, that's right. So fennel, fenugreek, oats, brewer's yeast, and then plenty of hydration. And as long as overall you're getting good protein, good ions to fuel your body mentally and physically for those demands, then we should be able to see good milk supply. But if you put food aside, stimulation from your bub sucking and then also pumping, that's obviously going to be your biggest one.
yes you got to not just about the food, it's about obviously
that's right. So but they're foods that you can include in your everyday lifestyle, so I always recommend them and they're a great one.
And that's really good. So obviously children can be very fussy eaters, and starting solids can be overwhelming for parents. I know when I had my daughter, like I used a recipe book early on, and it broke it all down, and and things like change all the time. But what are your top 3 nutrition tips for babies and infants?
Well, starting solids is, it's such an important milestone for you as the parent, and then especially the bub, since their microbiome's still developing, sensory tastes are slowly developing, and they're forever changing every time. So it's a really crucial and important and exciting and scary time all at once. And when I do coach my clients with their bubs and transitioning them into solids, the first one is making sure that breast milk or formula, they're naturally sweet. So as babies, we have that innate sense for sweet taste. I always recommend that parents do introduce bitter-like tastes alongside their iron-rich foods to help develop and strengthen a liking towards those foods from the very start, and that just helps to widen the baby's taste palette. So that's like a first tip that I always like to introduce, and I help similar to maybe what your book describes, but I help that transition, so providing them with a couple of different ideas of how you might combine iron-rich foods with the bitter tastes, and just allowing for bub to get used to those changes and the taste sense particularly. So that was my first one. My second one is to create natural autonomy, and also just being patient. So it's offering mash or soft finger foods, both are safe. It just depends on your baby's interest and what your preference is as a parent. As long as they're iron rich, so they've got pureed poultry or fish or cooked tofu or legumes or fortified rice cereal, whichever one you kind of want to start with, that's your preference, and at any rate that you like. But as long as you're just taking that time to allow for your child to get used to those changes, because it's a new stage for them. They're learning, new lifelong skills, understanding taste, textures, whether they're hungry, whether they're full, and most importantly, chewing and swallowing. So listen to your baby's cues, watch your baby's cues, and some foods he or she will love straight away, which I'm sure you would have seen with your 2 children.
I've got 2. So they're definitely, I'm glad they're not as fussy. My son is now, but he got fussier as he got older. And it's hard, and it always changes. The foods that you find that they will like, you ate one time and then you're like, what are you doing? You're not eating it now. So
exactly. So it's always going to change, and it's actually trying to make it different or more exciting sometimes. So you might change the shape or the texture or the presentation, or you might have a like food with a new food, so that way they feel familiar with one option, and then they've got something new to trial. And then also with what I mean by creating autonomy is you might pop a couple of different options, not too many to overwhelm them, but a couple of different options in front of them, in front of their main plate, so that they can grab and kind of explore, and that can be really helpful. And you might grab from the same plate as a family, and then they mirror and watch you. So it's about them looking at you and, oh, okay, mum's having a go, I'll have a go too,
and then they just try.
even older siblings to the younger siblings, that's really great as well.
No, that's great tips,
Yeah.
because it's just, us being patient, because we forget, we just take it for granted, we just eat, and
that's right.
Be like, no, this is something new, and it'll happen in time.
Yeah, and we can learn from our youngsters as well, because they listen to their hunger, they listen to their fullness cues so well. Whereas when we get a little bit older, we take food for granted, and we kind of just keep eating. And so listening and watching our baby's cues can be really helpful, both ways. And another tip is being really relaxed and making sure that it's a time that baby's settled, you're settled, there's going to be no distractions. It's a really safe and healthy environment for bub, because then you're setting yourself up for really good progress.
Yeah, you don't want it to be a stressful, or we're getting overwhelmed, and then they're going to pick up on that energy. So
exactly, they'll read that energy really well. Babies are like sponges, so it's making sure that you're presenting well, and then they'll follow that cue.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any other sort of tips that you want to add before?
Well, I guess, it's mainly that, having a different variety of the options that they can choose. So from a fussy perspective, or if they are already experiencing that fussy kind of trait, then just allowing them to choose those different options and give them that choice. But like I said, have a familiar food and then a new food. That can be really helpful, because as the parent, we provide, but then the baby will decide. So
that's a good way to put it.
So it's allowing them to have that choice, and trying not to put that pressure on them, or trying to, as best as you can as a parent, when you're in a stressful moment, try not to have a reward system, because then they'll pick up on that too. And you don't want to then get into a routine or a domino effect with that.
Yeah, and then every time they expect a reward, every time they eat something that that's
I mean, the main goal is for them to be able to eat the same meal that you as a family are going to prepare, so that you're not making several different meals for everyone.
Yes, and that can, it's like, this is what we've cooked, this is what we need. It's otherwise it becomes mayhem.
That's
when there's too much choice. So
did you have any specific that you, I guess, personally experienced that?
I'm trying to think. Like, I know, what do you do, like, if they don't want to eat certain foods, like in terms of, like, so they, like my son, he won't eat like soups or the texture. He just doesn't like anything that's a soup. He doesn't like sauce, things like that. So like, he probably did more so when he was younger, and it was like, that's what it is. But like, do you just accept, like, that's it, you're just not going to eat those kind of foods, or do you just keep offering it? Like, how do you get around those sort of things?
I would keep offering it, because it might be the 20th time or the 50th time that they eventually
say, oh, I don't know why I told you I didn't like
it. Or like I said, trying to serve it with something that they really enjoy, so something that they really love, and then having that on the side. And he might not touch it, he might not even acknowledge it at the start, but it's more that you're persistent and keep kind of allowing him to have that option, then he's going to pick up on that, and he'll eventually give it a go. And if he's then watching you or the rest of the family enjoy that same meal, then he'll hopefully eventually pick up on it.
I don't want to miss out of what's going on there, sort of thing.
That's right. And if you've got something that he really enjoys and loves next to it, then it's just allowing that balance, but also giving him that choice as well. But textures is a little bit tricky, but it's still, because sometimes they might have that, they might tend towards different textures, and that's hard to break. But at the same time, it's more exposure in that relaxed environment, and then a new food and a liked food. That's the best approach.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. And in terms of like age, when you're starting solids, is there anything that you sort of tell your new mums of when to start?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's changed over time, but essentially there's always that 6 months starting frame, but some mums can start anywhere from 4 months if baby is giving them those cues. So if neck strength is adequate, if they're, you know, reaching out or showing you that they're interested in food, then that's a cue that they might be ready to start. But so essentially you can start anywhere between 4 to 6 months. As long as if it's at that 4 months that the doctor's giving you the okay and they've got good neck strength and it's safe and healthy for them to do so, then you certainly could start at that 4 months. But generally 6 months is the main advice. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. Because that stuff is always sort of changing and you're like,
yes.
Yeah. So it's good.
That's right.
Obviously it's up to like how your baby is and how they are. So it's good to check and always double check with an expert.
That's right.
Aren't confident.
And it's the same with the advice around whether I serve my baby pureed or like finger length foods that they can grab onto. Some mums are quite scared to do that straight away, but you can certainly do both. It's like what I said before, as long as it depends on a baby's preference and what they're ready to do, or your preference as well. But as long as at that 6 month age that the food is generally bigger than like a finger length, and they're unlikely to choke on a bigger food. And it's more about them understanding the grip strength and for them to explore and play around and understand.
Because they'll probably just grab it and suck on it. And
exactly. And as long as you're watching them 24/7, then that's fine.
I just remember all the food ending up on the floor many, many times. And if you didn't watch them, it was all over their face. So everywhere.
All over their faces, But that's all about
it's all the fun of it. But it's Oh yeah. Gosh, one time I walked away for 2 seconds and yogurt was everywhere, like it was a facial. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, something for me to look forward to.
Yes. I don't know how I haven't found a solution to that yet. Some people put like a big mat on the floor and then they just clear up that. I would just rather be using wet ones and cleaning up.
That's what I plan to do. I mean, I've seen so many ads on Instagram of putting placemats underneath, and there's so many things that you can buy these days to
try and catch it all.
Yes, but I'll probably just do it the old school way, like wiping it like you have done.
But no, I think that was all really helpful. It's great to pick your brain and get some expert advice in that area, because sometimes you think it's common sense, but you don't know, exactly what we should be doing sometimes. So it'll give us some insight. But obviously, so you're in Sydney, Aimee? You're not.
No, I'm actually. So I'm on the south coast of New South Wales.
Okay.
So I'm further away from Sydney nowadays, but we live in St. George's Basin, but I work in Gerringong and Oak Flats, which is close to Wollongong.
Beautiful.
But I do a lot of telehealth because I did originally work in Sydney, so I do a lot of telehealth, and people will find me through online, and they might live in Queensland or Sydney or Melbourne or Canberra, and so I see people all over, and that's the beauty of telehealth, like what we're doing now.
See the power of Zoom. You can.
That's right.
And so what services do you offer, and how can my Mummas Wear followers find you?
Certainly. So I've got 2 websites. My main one is the Antique Nutrition website that I first launched. So that's where you can book online and in-person consults, and I'll post topical nutrition information across the year, and has all my services and about me there. And then my second one is called Renew You Nutrition, and that's more in line with pregnancy nutrition, so prenatal, postnatal, gut health, and I provide individualized packages. So it's about people can buy a package, and then I provide one-on-one sessions and then meal plans based on what they're after. So it might be for improving fertility, so it's about that 3-month window that I was talking about. So that's really planning them for good conception and good pregnancy. And then I offer pregnancy support. So they might just want support in that first trimester where they're experiencing symptoms, and I might be able to help them with nutrition support around those symptoms.
Yeah.
And then they might want to continue that support throughout the 3 trimesters. Or you might just want to touch base in that 3rd trimester and talk about more growth and brain development and what nutrients can help with brain development for Bub, and prioritizing that as well. So that's something that I do offer. And then gut health and sports nutrition is my 2 other passions as well.
You're a busy lady. Busy lady and busy mom.
Yeah, that's right. But they're all my passions and all my loves. So that's why, I keep it flowing as best as I can.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm on Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, they're my main channels. And you can find me on any of those.
No, that sounds great. I'll drop your handle as well in the comments.
Yeah, perfect.
So that
wonderful. Yeah. And I guess, with the pregnancy one, like when I was saying that I break it up into the 3 trimesters, that's what I promote in those packages on that Renew website. So it's allowing people to just take one trimester at a time, and appreciate those changes in hormones and nutritional demands across those trimesters.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And then they know, okay, I need the help now, I don't need the help later, or they just can get their head around it. Because just to show, like, before I was talking to you today, I just assumed that, it'd be just pretty standard the whole way through, but there's obviously different things that are happening to your body that you need to then focus on and eat different.
Right. And especially nutritionally as well, those demands are continually changing. And in terms of even weight and when to gain the weight across the pregnancy, that I think people have just normalized, I'll just start gaining weight straight away, but that's not necessarily the case. And it completely depends on what your starting weight is and how I will guide you throughout that phase as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of mums compare themselves to their friends and be like, because we all, our bodies change so differently from each other.
Everyone's so unique. So everyone's going to have different recommendations, different demands, and not one pregnancy is the same either. So,
even between both my children, it's different.
Yeah, that's right. So
yeah. But no, thank you so much, Aimee. I really love chatting with you and catching up and, finding out all this good insight into baby nutrition. And I think that it'll be really helpful for new mums trying to fall pregnant and also starting solids and stuff with their babies. So it's been great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Tash.
Thanks, darling.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.